All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Generations Legacy, Wreck and Rule Collection, Comic Universe Impactor. Quite the long title there. But yeah, this is another repaint slash retool of the Impactor mold originally from Siege. It's kind of funny is we've gotten that mold 3 times now, and I think all of them have been Impactor. Maybe there's another one that's not Impactor. I can't remember, but this mold has been reused as Impactor a few times now, and each of them with a different head sculpt too, which is strange. But yeah, no, he looks pretty good in his tank mode here. This is of course the figure that was packaged with Spindle in the Wreck and Roll collection. So you can see their matching color schemes here, looking very nice together. The Wreck and Roll collection is an Amazon exclusive subline of Legacy. They're basically just focusing on the Wreckers here. And another thing that I didn't mention in the Spindle review is the box art actually for this set is another one of those like the Golden Disc collection that's actually going to kind of combine to make a mural. I'm not getting most of the figures in this set, so I'll get the other ones that goes right here. But the 3 on the top are ones that I'm not getting. And then another thing that this line is doing to kind of like incentivize you buying all the sets is it's including basically parts of like a papercraft hammer, like a Wrecker's hammer that you can put together. I'm not sure what part is going to come with the other set that I have, but I'm guessing I will not have a very complete looking hammer at the end of this, since I'm only getting 2/5 of the sets in the subline. But you know, worth mentioning. I guess it's kind of a nice box regardless. Too bad it doesn't. Hopefully, maybe the ones that come in the second pack that I got at least give it the 2 end caps, so I at least gonna have a nice little Wrecker's box here rather than a handle. But I don't know. Whatever. Not the end of the world if I don't complete that. But either way, yeah, this is a pretty nice looking figure. In terms of comparisons, here he is with, just for the standard one, with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see, next to an average size deluxe. I think, you know, they could have stood to do Impactor as a Voyager originally, but, you know, that's more of a carryover from the Siege mold than anything wrong with this one. But, you know, I still think it looks good. Nice. I don't know what words I was combining in my mouth there, but I still think it looks pretty good as a sort of a bigger deluxe. A good, nice, big deluxe. That's where goodbye came from, I guess. And importantly, here he is with the original Siege Impactor, just so you can see some of the differences here. Obviously, pretty different color scheme here. This is a much more muted purple and a kind of more like mustardy yellow, which you know, I think I actually like that better. This is definitely more kind of showing off how he looked in the original Marvel comics. And you know, it still pops on the shelf, like it's still a nice kind of vibrant color scheme, but it is a little bit, you know, less Crayola than this one, which I didn't really have a problem with this guy's color scheme when it came out, but seeing these two next to each other, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the right choice. But yeah, there's a few bits of remolding on this figure, mainly the head sculpt in robot mode, but there's a few things visible in this mode as well. Like the robot mode chest, which makes up the kind of top section of the tank here. We'll show that off again later, but that is a remolded section. And they did a completely different thing for his sort of hexagonal shoulder cannon here. You can see it's a little bit more thin, streamlined, and strangely, it actually comes off. Like this piece just pegs into the other piece, whereas on this one, this was all one piece. You know, I think it looks pretty good in this mode. I'm not really sure what the functionality of unpegging it is, but that is an option. But yeah, no, it's a pretty good little tank mode. In terms of articulation, it can rotate here at the turret, and obviously, you know, because it's like his waist and it's like way back here, it's kind of an odd rotation, but you know, better than not rotating at all, I guess. And then the turret can kind of fold up and down since it's just pegged into either hand here. And yeah, in terms of accessories, obviously it comes with a little cannon bit that plugs on there. It comes with his little little hook hand too, if I can get it off here, geez. And I think where they probably want you to store that is up here plugged into the gun, which you can do, and that's fine, I guess. I tend to just keep it plugged into where it's going to go in robot mode because I think it looks fine there, just as sort of a secondary gun. And then obviously for his main weapon here, it is just his robot mode gun, which is pegged into his hands to become the actual turret in vehicle mode. But yeah, no, it's a pretty nice looking tank. What's really nice compared to the original one is they decided to paint these sections purple, even though the hands are still molded in that yellow plastic, so it kind of blends in a little bit better in tank mode, and in robot mode it actually does some nice things too. But it's it makes for a much more kind of cohesive looking turret here, where you don't have quite as many like pops of yellow as the original one. You pretty much just have the turret there, and then you can kind of see the back of his head and a few sections. But it wasn't like this one where it kind of breaks up the purple in sort of awkward ways. Not really a huge complaint with this guy, but again, it's like when looking at the two of them side by side, I'm like, yeah, I do like that better. And they did some really nice color matching here with the painted purple too. Like you would not be able to tell by looking at it really that this is painted on yellow plastic and this is molded plastic. They look pretty much indistinguishable. But yeah, no, pretty nice tank mode overall. What's kind of strange, and this is again like not really a complaint in either direction, just something that I noticed, is that on the original one the wheels are all yellow, like to match the yellow plastic, and on this one the wheels are purple. And that's odd because like you'd think that because they're using the same molds and the same tools, that if the wheels were on the yellow tool that they wouldn't now be on the purple tool. Maybe in the original mold they cast wheels on both tools so they could choose which ones they wanted to use, and that's a weird choice. I would not have expected that, but that's odd that they are different colors. I probably would have preferred them blend in with the yellow, but that is not a big deal in the slightest. But yeah, that's enough rambling about the tank mode, I think. Let's get on to transformation. So first thing you want to do is take it's just like the original Siege mold. There's no real differences in the transformation. You want to take these sections back here with the wheels on them and fold them out just like that. They peg in pretty securely there. And then you take these entire tread sections and they actually rotate around onto the front section here and kind of lock into place, just kind of loosely lock into place. And then you bring this whole section up, and this little clip here will go into this slot right there. And then you separate what are going to be the legs, and then you rotate these sections the rest of the way down, I guess really back into the same orientation they were in before, and then take these little sections here and fold them up to become the feet. And there pretty much is his lower half there, and then his upper half is the turret itself. So I'll just adjust the camera here first. Okay, and then what you want to do is untab the arms from this chest section, and also untab them from the gun at the same time. And on this one, this chest section really doesn't tab into the arms very securely. Like it kind of sits in there, but it doesn't take much for it to kind of like pop up a little bit. And this is kind of both a good thing and a bad thing, to be honest. Like in tank mode, it means that it sits a little bit less flush most of the time. But one thing that I had a problem with the original figure was that this tabbed in so securely that it was really hard to get the arms actually untabbed, because you kind of have to like pry them out this way. And if you're like, prying a horizontal tab out to the side, it feels like, okay, you could snap it. So it was a really kind of awkward procedure, whereas this one, it does not feel difficult to do that at all. And truthfully, I don't think that, it not tabbing in super securely is really that detrimental to the tank mode, so that's better. So you untab the hands from the gun there and just fold the shoulders out to the side. Then we can take the chest here and just tab it into place like that. Take both of the forearms and rotate them around 180 degrees. And I guess with this one we can rotate the little spike forward. We'll just take the gun off of his hand for now. Rotate his forearm around, and then what's nice here is, like, again, because they've painted this section, it means that this arm is like continuous with the full purple and the spear hand, and this one, when you rotate it around, actually does still have his yellow hand there. I'm kind of concerned, like over time about this scraping the purple paint off when you rotate it around, but I guess we'll see. And then you take his little shoulder cannon here, flip it over to the other side, take this little flap, open it up like that, and then get your finger in there and then rotate out the head, rotate it around, and then just close that flap back up, and there you have Impactor in his robot mode. And yeah, he looks super nice. Obviously you can give him his weapon here. You can hold it in this hand just like that, and I think that looks pretty good. It is you know, since it's from Siege, it has the compatibility with the blast effects. And then if you want to store it, it's got a few pegs on it, these two and this one right here. And he's got a few pegs on the back here, so you could like sling it over like this or put it in the middle. What I tend to do is just plug it into the back by the handle, because that makes it sit the lowest in robot mode, so it kind of just sits behind his back there. And then if you don't want the spear hand, you can unpeg that and just flip around and give him two hands. That's totally doable. You can have him hold this as like a knife, or just peg it into the back here, or if you don't want the spear hand at all, you could just leave it to the side, obviously. I tend to prefer to have him with the little hook hand there. And again, I think it's a super nice touch that they painted these sections, so it makes his arms look actually like constructed a little bit differently. In terms of his shoulder cannon here, what's kind of annoying is it doesn't really sit like flat when you flip it over like the other one did. It's at like a bit of an awkward angle here, and like you can, because this yellow piece is on a peg, you can kind of rotate it to compensate, but then it's a little obvious that the purple piece is still not rotated correctly. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, I'll compare this with the other one, but you know, since this piece pegs in, you can take this off, and like I guess you could use this as like another it doesn't really look that much like a gun when it's plugged into his hand. It kind of just looks like he's got like a pizza flipper or something, but you know, you could do that. I think that's kind of a cool look, but seems a little bit pointless when it could just be, you know, accessibly plugged into his shoulder. But you know, it's an option, and that's cool. He's got a nice new head sculpt here, definitely more along the lines of like focusing on the Marvel Comics design there. And again, same as Spindle here, has a nice shiny blue metallic Wreckers symbol there. That's pretty cool. In terms of articulation, obviously it's very similar to the original Impactor. The head is on a ball joint here, so you don't really get a ton of wiggle just because of the shape of it, but you can swing around like that. And then I guess with the transformation joint, you can sorta, can you? Yeah, I guess you can kind of have it tilt up, but the door kind of gets in the way. No, I don't know. That works pretty well. For the shoulders here, you can rotate it around. It's just on a swivel there, and then can hinge out to the side. Has a bicep swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. I don't think, yeah, the wrist is not a separate piece, so the wrist can't swivel. Waist swivel is really kind of like a mid-drift swivel, but it effectively does the same thing. The hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the knee, even if they are a little bit high. The feet can kind of tilt in and out like that for transformation, and then they can tilt up and down at the toe, but that's such a loose joint that you're not really going to be holding any weight with that, I don't think. But yeah, though, this guy does have one kind of annoying thing that doesn't seem quite as bad on this one as the original one, but he has that annoying thing that they've been doing a long time. I feel like they haven't done it for a while, but where they have like leg ratchets on the figure, but it's either like this or the first ratchet out to the side is there and nothing in between. Thankfully on him, they seem a little bit softer, so you can kind of like, you know, get it to kind of sit in between those ratchets and have it actually look like somewhat natural. I do remember this being like a much bigger problem on my original Impactor, and what I actually did with that figure, which it was kind of the figure's detriment, was I sanded down those ratchets a little bit and attempted to like tighten up this joint. So as a result, like, you know, you can move it a lot more cleanly between the ratchets, but my tightening has kind of worn off over the years, so now his legs are kind of floppy. So it's kind of nice that this one, the ratchets are soft enough that I don't have to do that again and then have, you know, this one be floppy in the future. But you know, whatever, just worth mentioning. But yeah, while I've got him here, we can show off some of the differences here. Obviously very different head sculpt designs there. There's also the third head sculpt, which I think is honestly probably the best of the three, or at least my favorite of the three, which is unfortunately on a figure that I don't have, which is the more IDW comics looking one. But I do like this one a bit better, just because like I like the shape of this head sculpt all right, but like one thing I always notice about it is that the lips on it are like really soft and non-distinct, so it looks like someone's just like plastered over his mouth, which is really weird because the rest of the detail on it is nice and crisp. But whatever. It's definitely nice to have this one instead. But yeah, you can also see the differences in their chests there. Doesn't, overall change the look of the figure a whole lot, but definitely makes him a little bit more comic accurate. And then the difference in the shoulder cannons. I will say I like the look of the thinner shoulder cannon in tank mode a bit more, but I think overall I would have preferred if they just used the same mold for this one, because this one can actually like click into place and sit completely horizontally on his shoulder, whereas this one sits at a bit of that weird angle. And I also just think like in robot mode, I think the thicker one just looks a little bit better, but I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, that's what they look like together. So you can see all the differences there. For the standard one, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see. Pretty tall deluxe, all things considered, which is nice because, really, I think he could have been a Voyager, but it's nice that even though they did him as a deluxe, he's still pretty tall. Here he is again with Spindle, just so you can see what he looks like with his pack mate. I figured I'd show them off there with her and the Spinosaurus mode, so you can see what Impactor looks like with like a little pet Spinosaurus or something. And then this is the display I really like to do with him. Here he is with a few other wreckers from the past. Not all of the wreckers that I have, but a good assortment of them. I kind of consider these guys kind of like the main crew of wreckers, and then a few extra guys. But yeah, no, I think he looks pretty good with them. Like obviously, he's a little bit taller than Top Spin and Twin Twist, but kind of is completely dwarfed by Whirl and Roadbuster, and that's okay. I guess the tallest guy doesn't need to be the leader of the wreckers, but I think they all look good together tonight. Have a nice little wreckers team, even if he's the only one that's actually sporting the Wreckers logo. But yeah, no, pretty good figure overall. I'm pretty pleased with him. I do think I like him better than the original Impactor, all things considered. There's some stuff that, mainly just the shoulder cannon, I think is the main thing that I would have preferred stayed from the original version. And again, like, I like this head sculpt more than that one, but I still think probably the best head sculpt is the one that was on that like exclusive two pack or 3-pack even, maybe, I don't remember, that came with the hologram Mirage, which I never wanted. And so there's 3 different Impactors floating out around there, and pick your favorite, I guess, even though this is, I would say, probably the easiest one to get now, I guess, depending on where you live and how accessible Amazon is to you. But yeah, no, it's a pretty good figure overall. I'm quite pleased with him. But yeah, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Legacy Wreck and Rule Impactor.